Property investment involves a lot of money, so naturally you want to optimise and protect that asset as well as you can. To do that, you need a great property manager. But how do you find one? Well, that's what this presentation is about, giving you the questions that you can ask that will help you find somebody who's a truly great property manager. I'm Alan Henderson, Director at Point Property Management. I've been invested in property since 1996. I've been advising clients on property investment for over 15 years, and we've been actively buying for clients investment properties through our sister company Erskine and Owen for over 10 years. Question number one, what experience have you had? The job of a property manager on most days is intense, continual, and often involves conflict resolution. Property management is not for everyone. So when you ask what kind of experience have you had, the answer is you want to know that they've had lots of life experience. Our experience is that people in their early 20s are not typically ready for a property management job, not unless they've got a small portfolio, lots of training and management support around them. So it's not impossible, but they've got to have the right personality. They need to be relatively gregarious, and you want to know that they've managed to face a few conflicts in their time and work through them. You also want somebody that has demonstrated that they're able to be really firm but fair as well. You want somebody who's humane, that can respect tenants and respect their dignity, but at the same time, obviously, there can be no tolerance for arrears or a property that's not in good shape. One of the things that we really drum into our property managers is don't be afraid to pick up the phone. In fact, don't ever try and email people if it's possible, or unless the client wants it, using email when you're trying to initiate something. If possible, pick up the phone. Some people want to be communicated with by email, and that's fine. And you want somebody that's got great organisation skills, and if they haven't, you want to know that there's a great administrator supporting them in the background. Question number two, how do you communicate? This question is really for you, the property owner. How do you want to be communicated with? Do you want regular phone calls, or just someone who gets on with the job, gets it done, and emails you the result? The answer depends on what you want. If you want to talk and chat about your property every month, then you want somebody that's really keen to pick up the phone and talk to their owners. How do you find this out? Ask things like, who are the landlords that you enjoy working with best? And you might glean some insights as to the type of people that they're happiest working with. It may be that you just want an email relationship, and so if you've got somebody who loves to chat on the phone, there may be somebody else in the organisation that's better for you. If you're talking to a sole trader, then bad luck, I guess. But within our firm, we acknowledge that there are people with different styles. All are great property managers, but each person has a different style, and we try and match owners' communication style to each property manager. Question number three, how many properties do you manage? Our experience is that a property manager becomes overloaded when they have too many properties, or don't have enough support, or there are poor systems around them. The answer is not one set answer. There can be many answers. But for starters, the industry norm is for a property manager who does everything, and by everything I mean does the lettings, does the inspections, does the arrears chasing, does the repairs and maintenance, would manage about 100 to 120 properties. 120 plus is absolutely feasible if there's sufficient administration support, or perhaps if there's a letting agent or a credit controller or some other type of strong management support around them. In our business at Point Property Management, we have a 2-to-1 ratio. So what that means is we have one administrator for every 2 property managers. And what that allows the property manager to do is to be outwardly focused. They're focusing on the tenant, you the owner, and on getting work done. The back office administration stuff, and I say stuff, but it's actually all really important, is taken care of by a really efficient administrator who's mature and can make sure the property manager stays on track. KPIs do you have? Question number 4. Unless you're dealing with a sole practitioner, even then they should have KPIs, I think. Any good property management firm should have tightly managed KPIs. What are KPIs? Key performance indicators that property managers have to be hitting, and if not, then questions get asked. So at a minimum, you want to make sure that there's KPIs around arrears, lettings, inspections overdue, rent reviews overdue. So what about arrears? You should be able to ask them, what's your arrears as a percentage of total weekly rent? Most property managers should be able to tell you that. At least the supervisor should be able to articulate really quickly what the goal is, and an individual property manager may be working to an individual dollar amount, but they should be able to tell you what they're working to really quickly. Days property is untenanted. You obviously don't want your property without a tenant for a long period of time. How is that controlled? A week or 2 is maybe normal. Obviously you don't want any vacancies whatsoever if it can be avoided, but anything beyond that should have alarm bells ringing, red flag, so that management drive that, and they should be picking that up well beforehand. Inspections overdue. There should not be any inspections overdue. Most insurance companies reserve the right to decline any claim if an inspection has not been done quarterly. Rent reviews, you want to make sure that they're done, that rents are keeping pace with market rents where possible. Obviously you don't want to lose a tenant, but there should be a really good KPI around that. So just make sure that when you ask the question, you get a sense that there are KPIs, the property manager knows what they're working towards. Question 5, what are your processes? Processes are different to KPIs. KPIs are picking up performance and looking at what has happened or what is going on. Processes are what are put in place to make sure things are done and done properly. So whether a large company or a sole trader, you want to know that there are really strict processes in place, otherwise things will get messy. So what's your process for missed rent, rent reviews, letting properties, inspections, repairs and maintenance? Make sure they can verbalise those. There is no exact right or wrong on the way to do things, but you want to be sensing that there's a good, prompt, convincing response that sounds like it's second nature, and they're not pausing to think about what they do. It should be what they do every day. So, for example, if you ask about one of our property managers is what's your arrears process, they'll be able to verbalise that really quickly. That we've got first of all, that we've got an intolerance for rent arrears. Easier said than done. How do we practice that? Well, we have a process for day 1, day 2, day 3, and property managers must follow that process. And we know that if they're not following it, that'll get picked up in their KPIs and then verbalise. Why would you go to the tribunal directly instead of mediation? And just get a real sense that they've got good, strong processes. Question 6, what support do you have? To be a great property manager, you need to be part of a great team, and you need to make sure that they have got adequate support. Some of the key areas where there needs to be support is firstly administration. There is a lot of back office support that needs to go on. There's a lot of work that takes place in terms of paperwork, filing, tenancy agreements, sending off bonds to the ministry. So you want to make sure that they have the right person in place and enough of that person's time. I think as mentioned, we at Point Property Management have one administrator for every property manager, and that's different to the finance person. So the administrator is simply there to help book inspections, load up tenancy agreements, deal with bond launchments, deal with simple tenant inquiries, and that frees up the property manager to do the more important owner-facing work. And what about finance? So you want a great numbers person there that processes the rent every day and can answer questions for the property manager quickly and easily, because they're in turn answering those questions for the you, the owner, potentially as well. So just look out for language that hints at somebody maybe drowning. You know, like we just do what it takes to do the job. Well, they might be just trying to avoid the question. So make sure there's adequate support. Question 7, what controls are in place? Controls are the things that make sure that major errors don't go wrong, or as much as possible make sure things don't go wrong. This is obviously a major asset that you're entrusting to your property manager and involves large sums of money both in terms of the rent collected and the asset itself. So does the company have really good controls in place that protect your investment? So first and foremost, you want to make sure that the money is protected. So they should be able to explain in basic terms the controls. For example, we do a daily reconciliation of the trust account to make sure that everything balances. We make sure that bonds get off to the ministry in the allocated time, otherwise there could be fines involved. The trust account is audited quarterly and our auditors report back to us, and there should be no issues on any audit report. We don't have any issues. You want to make sure that inspections, you know that the inspections are going to be done and that management are alerted if property managers try and shift inspections out beyond a 3-month period, because that can put you at risk. Insurance companies often reserve the right to deny a claim or refuse a claim if you haven't been doing inspections quarterly. So you want to make sure there's good, tight controls. Another thing that we do around the money is we don't accept cash from tenants. That just avoids a whole lot of areas of risk. It's something I'm really hot on personally. I'm a chartered accountant and I had an audit background, and these things are really, really important. Question 8, can you prove it? What's better than a testimony? Ask for a couple of referees that you can talk to about the property manager to validate what they've been telling you. Even if you've been referred by a friend, there's no harm in asking for a couple of additional landlords you can speak to. And when you talk to them, ask whether or not they're family or friends. So the kind of responses you want are probably more situational. So ask things like, give me an example of where something's gone wrong, but the property manager has fixed it, and tell me about how they've gone about doing that. Ask if they've got all their properties with that property manager. Sometimes there's good valid reasons for not, but if they're in the same city, same type of property, is that an indication they're not entirely happy? They may be just trying to split their risk. So just get a sense from other people that this property manager is who they say they are. Question 9, why do you do this? Does the property manager understand the purpose, vision and culture of the organisation and what part they play in it? And why would you ask this? Because it's a hard job, and a key part of retention is a great culture, purpose and vision. You want a property manager that is going to stick around if they're good. You don't want the culture or the environment to burn them off. So it's actually really important. The purpose is really important to us. Why do we exist? Why does Point Property Management exist? It's not because we love visiting properties. It might be what we're good at. We might be good at collecting rent. We might be good at finding tenants. But the purpose of Point Property Management is to help our owners achieve their wealth goals and protect that wealth. So it's all about achieving financial goals and a lifestyle beyond that. So our property managers understand that, and they understand the role that they play in that purpose. Our culture, so we have some really core cultural principles. They're everywhere, they're visible, they're in diagrams, and one of them, for example, is being prepared to pick up the phone. Don't hide behind emails. Pick up the phone and communicate when necessary, and if the owner's happy for that means of communication. So what you're looking for is the ability for the property manager to be able to articulate that, even if it's simplistic. Question 10, can I meet you? If you've got this far and you've got a sense that this person is somebody you'd like to work with, then you could be on to a winner. So ask to meet the property manager, even if it's by Skype or phone. And if you're dealing with a salesperson or a business development person, then ask to meet the property manager you'll be assigned to. They might say they don't know, but they're not sure. Just ask to meet a few of the property managers they think you'll be assigned to, and that way you might have the opportunity to get some choice. So the answer should be absolutely yes, you can. We would love to meet you. We would love to hear your story, what you're trying to achieve, your portfolio, what you're trying to do with it, your stresses, your concerns, your hopes around that, and we'd love you to meet our property managers face to face. Question 11, bonus question, going beyond. It's a bonus question because this question is all about what do you deliver beyond your core duties. Ask the question. So, do you ever go beyond your core duties? What do you do to add value to your owners? An example of that might be, well, I saw an opportunity to put a deck out the back of a property that increased the rent by a factor greater than the increased interest on the cost to do the build, and it also increased the value of the property itself. An example of ours, we had a client about 3 years ago, stressed in their 50s, had about 3 or 4 properties, was struggling to make their mortgage payments. They came and saw me. I said, look, it looks like that you've got a lot of consumer debt and credit card debt. Let's refinance you, borrow from the bank to pay that off, and that money will be at a lower interest rate. And you've got a sleep out the back of this property that's got a leaking roof, meaning you can't rent it. Let's get a bit of extra money to fix the roof, get a tenant back in there. The cost of the repair was only a few $1,000s, and interest on that is minimal, but the rent was about $200 a week. So that was a win for the client. They ended up in a healthy cash flow position. They were no longer stressed. They spent 3 years riding the recent boom in property. They've created a whole bunch more equity, and instead of selling up out of frustration and stress, they were able to hold on to their portfolio. They're now approaching retirement with a really good nest egg, and purpose achieved. We're fulfilling our purpose. We've helped that client protect their wealth and grow it, and that was all because the property manager said, "Hey, look, I think we could help you." So, the Erskine and Owen, our sister company, is the one that provides the financial advice, and together we were able to provide a really good solution for the client. We'd love to talk to you about how we could help you grow, optimize, protect your property or property portfolio. So what are our answers? Why not give us a call and ask us these 11 key questions? You can either contact us at info@pointpm.co.nz or 0800 763 123, or go to our website, pointpropertymanagement.co.nz. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to meet with you. We'd love to introduce you to some of our really experienced, really well supported, really passionate property managers.